Good evening. I call to order the Lake Havasu City Council regular meeting. Sorry about that. A regular meeting on Tuesday, January 12th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you for being here. Public participation is available in this meeting. Members of the public can attend in person or watch or listen to the meeting live via Channel 4, or they can go to lhcaz.gov/TV. We also are receiving public comment from the public, and they submit written comments to the city clerk's office an hour prior to this meeting at cityclerk@lhcaz.gov. We'll now have an invocation by Pastor Dale Ray from Lakeview Community Church. Welcome, Pastor. Thank you for being here.
Good evening. I'm reminded in the Psalm at verse 7 of chapter 16. I will bless the Lord who has given me counsel. My heart also instructs me in the night season. I have set the Lord always before me, because he is at my right hand. I shall not be moved. Therefore my heart is glad, and my glory rejoices. My flesh will also rest in hope. Precious Heavenly Father, as we come before you this evening, asking your guidance, your blessing, Lord, we ask that you would strengthen each of these, our mayor and each of the council members, our city leaders. Lord, we pray that your hand would be upon each one and that you would keep them safe. And Lord, I pray that in this hour, an hour that is difficult in our world, an hour that needs to know your hope, Lord, let it shine in me, I pray, and let it shine in our mayor and our council members, that our hope truly does rest in your steadfast love, which never ceases. Your mercies are renewed every morning. I'm reminded, and I pray that they are too. Great is thy faithfulness.
Thank you, Pastor. Now we will have the Pledge of Allegiance led by the Lake Havasu Hospitality Association President Matt Brewster.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And
Right.
yeah, Matt, welcome from the Hospitality Association. If you want to share a little bit about what your organization does with the council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council, and members of the community at large. Lake Havasu Hospitality Association is made up of restaurants, hotels, customer service groups, tourist service, event services, tourism in general, entertainment, and much more. We're the ones that greet you when you dine out, deliver to you when you eat in, make your travel better, solve problems for you when you're engaging. As much turmoil as this past year has presented, we have seen some amazing efforts from wonderful people and businesses in hospitality in general across the area. The Hospitality Association and Go Lake Havasu saw to industry employees affected by the layoffs due to COVID-19 receive over 8,000 meals from local restaurants. In feeding our dislocated workers, we also help some of those businesses, restaurants, maintain food chains and additional income. We saw single parents worried about feeding their kids find meals that evening for themselves and their kids. We saw businesses work beyond measure to find ways to bring their staff back to work and change how they do business every day, which they're still affected by. We have seen many struggles, but we've also been witness to many successes, not the least of which were to be able to see the doors open for business the next day and provide jobs. In hospitality, we rely on several characteristics that fall outside the normal lines of business. For example, we rely on disposable income and leisure time for the most part. The hospitality industry is not typically focused on providing basic human needs, but on providing services to people with extra time and income and cash on their hands. We focus on intangible products. Hospitality is not like a new shirt you wear. It's something you can't touch, feel, or wear. Hospitality industry sells an experience or a feeling that is desirable. The hospitality industry is perishable, meaning that an experience will not last and the next experience will not be like the last one you had. Hopefully it'll be better or the same. Once a hospitality feature is consumed, it's gone. The industry never sleeps. The nature of the hospitality industry is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This includes employees' availability and operations from lodging, transportation, and entertainment. We are here for you. We have to be good enough for you too. We also rely on you. We are grateful to be a part of this community and also thank you for being a community that thrives on being the essence of what it means to be hospitable. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Thank you for being here, and thank you for all the work your organization does. All right, we'll now go to the roll call. Ms. Williams, if you could please call the roll.
Council members Nancy Campbell.
Here.
Jim Dolan.
Here.
David Lane.
Here.
Michelle Lynn.
Here.
Cameron Moses.
Here.
Vice Mayor Jenny Koch.
Here.
Mayor Cal Sheehy.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll now go on to item 5, which is our call to the public. This is an opportunity where citizens have to address the City Council on issues within the jurisdiction of Lake Havasu City. Your comments will be limited to 3 minutes, and if you wish to address an item already on our public hearings or on the agenda, we ask that you wait till that time so we can have a two-way conversation. Otherwise, during the call to the public, since it's not agendized, we cannot have a two-way conversation. There is an indicator box next to Ms. Williams. Green means you have your 3 minutes. Yellow means you have 1 minute remaining, and red means that the 3 minutes has expired. So you don't have to sign up for this, and we are also receiving public comment via email at cityclerk@lhcaz.gov prior to the meeting. With that being said, we'll go ahead and open up the in-person call to the public. Please just make your way to the podium and state your name for the record. All right, would no one like to address this during the call to the public? All right, we'll go ahead and close the in-person call to the public, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Williams. We did receive a few comments via email, if you would like to read those into the record.
The first comment was received Tuesday, January 12th, 2021, with a subject line of call to the public 1/12/2020. Please enter the following into the call to public section of the council meeting this evening. Dear Mr. Mayor, Mr. Knutson, honorable council members. While I am a volunteer member of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee, please allow me to speak strictly as a member of the community. In December, the editor of the Today's News Herald opined against funding parks and recreation projects in this challenging year. I respectfully but strongly dissent to that editor's opinion. As the newspaper rightly noted, this is an uncertain time with a serious lethal disease turning everything upside down. However, 2 key and consistent messages from the medical experts have been that outdoor activities are very safe and that we need to get outdoors and moving in order to combat the physical, mental, and emotional stresses of our time. If anything, that would suggest we expand our outdoor recreational initiatives in the coming years. Aside from a small misstep due to unclear guidance early on, our city's parks have been much needed and heavily used haven, a place where we can congregate with appropriate distance, laugh, play, keep fit, and soak up our beautiful environment. Most indoor places are considered much higher risk to attend, and in any event do not have the same natural, soothing beauty that our small slice of the Colorado River provides. The city should make every effort to facilitate and encourage increased use of our beautiful parks and outdoor spaces. Hopefully, these pandemic-driven activities will become regular health habits for our citizenry long-term. Best regards, submitted by Christopher Gallagher. The second comment was received Tuesday, January 12th, 2021, with a subject line of tax dollars. I remember in the past when we, city residents, have had an excess of revenue from taxes and fees, a considerable amount of that excess was refunded to the city residents. Considering all the visitors this past year, where the revenue came from, and that we who live here had to endure, this proposal seems very sensible. Submitted by Doug Van Loyn. The third comment was received Tuesday, January 12th, 2021, with a subject line of public comment. I am sorry to be unable to attend tonight's meeting. This is just an observation in regard to the vaccine distribution for the COVID-19 vaccine. There are a number of retired nurses in town who would be delighted to volunteer services for administering the vaccine. One group of 10 ladies I meet with in town has 3, one of whom is me, for example, just a thought. Thank you to the council for your tireless service to our community. Submitted by Kathy Molzen. And that
Great.
is
Yeah.
all.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. All right, I'll now go ahead and close the call to the public from the written comments as well. We'll move on to item 6, which is the consent agenda. Would any of the council members like to remove any of the items on the consent agenda for separate discussion?
Mayor,
Yes, Vice Mayor Koch?
motion?
Yes.
I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Koch and a second from Councilmember Lane. Is there any further discussion? All right. We are ready to vote.
Councilmember Dolan,
Aye.
Councilmember Lynn,
Aye.
motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. It's been a while since I've done this. I'm an amateur. All right, moving to item 7, correspondence, communications, petitions, announcements, and the city manager report. We'll start with item 7.1, which is the 2020 census presentation from Ms. Tammy Paris from the U.S. Census Bureau. And I believe Tammy will be joining us via Zoom.
Yes, good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can. Good evening. Welcome.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be with you. Mayor, Council, thank you for the opportunity to share with you the 2020 census. I have a short presentation to provide to you today, but the main purpose of me presenting today is to really thank Lake Havasu City for all of the efforts it undertook in support of the 2020 census, from the elected leaders and down to the citizens. Lake Havasu City really answered the call and understood the importance of the 2020 census. With that, I'm going to share my screen, go through a quick presentation, and it is my hope that the thank you certificate is already in place there with you through Jerry. Okay, just to make sure everything's working on my end, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, well, let's start from the beginning as opposed to the middle. Okay, great. Again, this is just a recap I'd like to provide you. And we'll talk about a national level, a regional level, and then I'll drill it down to really what matters to Lake Havasu City. The national self-response to the 2020 census was remarkable at 67%, and that exceeded our projection of 65.6%, and even that of the 2010 census was at 66.5%. As you all well know, this was the first nationwide census that was available online. We did not limit the choices of households and how they would like to participate with the census, but an overwhelming majority did choose the internet. Want to just say how proud we are at the Census Bureau that we can report that we had absolutely no downtime in our internet self-response tool, not even 1 millisecond. That was years in the making and fully tested, and we're happy to say also that there were no data breaches during the 2020 census, and the average response time was just 9 minutes. I know my household did it in 5 minutes. So I hope that the citizens found this to be a quick and easy way to respond to the decennial. And while the next 10 years may go slow for some, it sure goes fast for the census. So we are already gearing up for the 2030 census. But again, most of America chose to respond online at nearly 80%. For the rest of those households who chose not to self-respond, the Census Bureau has always undertaken the operation called non-response follow-up, and that is our door-to-door operation, and that comprised 33% of the U.S. households. So COVID, while it was certainly an inconvenience for us all, a very fearful time, the Census Bureau had to continue the mission of counting everyone once, only once, and in the right place. And we did that even in non-response follow-up. Our staff was equipped with personal protective equipment and went door to door. And 64 million addresses were counted in a shorter time frame in 2020 than that in 2010. So again, COVID did not derail the 2020 census in any way. We just simply dug in and got the job done. It is always common practice for the Census Bureau to use both proxy data and administrative records in completing the non-response follow-up. And what I mean by proxy is that if we visited a household 3 times and they were not home or simply did not answer the door, we did seek a proxy to help us get the data for that household who had not yet responded. So as you can see there, 24.1 here in the 2020 census compared to 23.8 in 2010. And then we also always use high quality administrative records for the decennial, and we did that here in 2020 as well at 13.9%. You may be thinking, well, what about the people who do not live in traditional housing? We have special operations for that, and the blue bar indicates how many nationally, those special type facilities that we enumerated. So you can see that we do our homework from decennial to decennial, and we locate group quarters facility, we count the homeless in our targeted non-shelter outdoor location, and work with service agencies known as service-based enumeration to ensure everyone is counted. So those are just sheer numbers that we counted nationally. Took a lot of people on the ground, a lot of people in Lake Havasu City and Mojave County to ensure that we were all marketing the census together. And I won't spend a whole lot of time on this slide, but there were partnership specialists on the ground. I was a partnership coordinator at the time, supervising someone you may be familiar with, Deborah McDonald, who I at least know that Anthony and Stuart definitely know Deborah or Kate McDonald in her role as a partnership specialist. But you were one of our gold partners. That means that you really took off running, and the pandemic did not slow you down either. I saw post after post on social media to ensure that Lake Havasu residents really knew the importance of the 2020 census. So thank you for that. You were part of that 67,000 plus partners in the Denver-Dallas region. So the state of Arizona, where did the state as a whole finish in self-response? I did the census myself without us going door to door. We finished at 64.1%, or in 32nd place amongst the 50 states. So not surprising given our location. So 64.1% is still something to be pat ourselves on the back for, and is a good percentage of response. Drilling it down here to the county level, Mojave County finished at 59.7% of the households did it on their own, and you can see that was higher than those responding in 2010. So the importance is known and people are responding. But what I'd really like to say is the city of Lake Havasu City, you brought it to the table. 2020 census, 63.9% of your households chose to respond on their own, leaving us very little work to do on the ground at 36.1%. And I want to say congratulations. Congratulations to the city, the Complete Count Committee, the people that were working behind the scenes to constantly share the census message, from the school district to the senior centers to mayor and council. Everyone was out there really helping pull on the rope to make sure that Lake Havasu City was counted. So thank you for that. So really, what's next? I'm sure that's on the minds of many here watching this presentation now. We did have a projected release of the state population counts. They are not yet here. The statutory date has come and gone of December 31st, 2020. And you can rest assured that the Census Bureau is working hard and fast to make sure that we evaluate any anomalies in the data. We operate very transparently to the public. We did notice some inaccuracies in the data, and we have to make sure that those are resolved before we release any state population counts. So stay tuned for that. There'll be a big press release when that comes available. But what you're really waiting on is those redistricting numbers. The district redistricting typically comes around the springtime, and that is the local level data that you're really waiting for. So thank you for your patience. We are working again hard and fast to get you what you need. And just in case there's any questions, for every single census survey that's administered, there is always a quality control operation that follows behind it. Following behind the decennial is something called our post-enumeration survey. The post-enumeration survey determines the under or over count of the decennial census, but in no way changes the final number. It is our report card for ourselves, and we are not yet finishing collecting data. That happens well into 2021. So please let your law enforcement know, let your citizens know that the census is always on the ground, whether it's for the decennial or our monthly surveys. We are there, and it's important that people respond to any of the census surveys that are being administered, but we're still working. So in the meantime, what I have to offer you in terms of numbers, which this will certainly help mayor, council, any businesses needing to make business decisions, is the American Community Survey. That is the 5-year estimate that has already been released, and that was released December 10th, 2020, and you can dig right in to looking what your community really looks like now. And we're always hiring. So we're hiring for field representatives. So if anyone's interested in a job, census.gov is a great place to start. I'm trying to talk fast. So I already told you that the census is on the ground every month of every year, and these are just some of our common surveys or some of the top 5 that we like to highlight in this presentation. Perhaps of note here, the Household Pulse Survey. That determines the effect of COVID-19 across America. You may be interested in digging more into our Pulse survey results, and that's available on census.gov. If you want to dive deeper into the data, there's a data dissemination program that we have. There's some self-study that you can do, or city can always enlist the data dissemination program expert. And if you're interested in receiving training at the city level, we are happy to provide that. And the email contact for requesting that training is here on the slides, which I've shared. Again, the primary purpose of me being here today is to say thank you. You were our trusted voice in Lake Havasu City, and the efforts that the city undertook in support of the 2020 census showed, and it showed in a mighty way. And the Bureau wants to thank each and every member of council, mayor, the citizens, anyone that helped pull on the rope to ensure that we had a successful 2020 census in Lake Havasu City. Thank you for that. And that is the conclusion of my presentation. Y'all probably don't think I live in Arizona. I have a terrible Alabama accent, but I am one of you. I live just here outside the Phoenix metro area. So that's usually on someone's mind. Jerry, I don't know if the certificate is with the council.
Yeah,
but if not,
we do have the
wonderful.
certificate. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so very much for the opportunity to present to all of you this evening.
Yeah, thank you, Tammy, and thank you for being here. What is on the screen is actually what the certificate looks like, so we do have that. And again, thank you to all the hard work, first to our citizens for taking the time to do so, and then the complete count committee at the county level and also in Lake Havasu City did a tremendous amount of work throughout this period. So thank you to everybody. Do any members of the council have any questions for Tammy? All right, Tammy. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you. Have a great evening,
You
everyone.
too. Take care. All right, we'll move on to item 7.2, which is Lake Havasu City Partnership for Economic Development Annual Update. I'll turn it over to Mr. Knutson for an introduction.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is part of the annual update from the Partnership for Economic Development. This is a organization within the community that partners with Lake Havasu City. We rely on them heavily for economic development practices and activities to both recruit businesses to Lake Havasu City, as well as provide the necessary resources it takes to sustain these businesses in Lake Havasu. So with that, we have Mr. James Gray is the director, and we have Mr. Michael Patterson is the president of the board. So with that, I'll turn this presentation over to them.
Thanks, Jess. Appreciate it, and glad that I could be here today and representing the Partnership for Economic Development and being able to share some of the exciting things that have been going on within our organization over the last year. So I'm going to start, the first slide here just introduces the board members and the executive meeting, but if you'll go to the next slide. As most of you know, Lake Havasu City is the proud winner of the America's Best Community competition that we had several years ago, taking second prize, and we received $2 million in economic development funding. And you can see the projects there that money was allocated to. The third one there is a co-working entrepreneur center, and that's what I'm going to focus on, and then I'm going to turn the time over to James to share some of the other exciting things that economic development's been working on. So in March of 2018, we decided after winning the money to do a pilot program. And so we rented some space, about 2,200 square feet of space, to see if there was an interest and a need for entrepreneurs in our community to have a co-work location. And what that is it's where the business owner, usually small, 1 to maybe 3 or 4 employees, instead of going out and trying to find their own space, office space to rent, which usually is very cost prohibitive, this allows them to share office space. And they might just need a desk, or they might need a whole office, just different arrangements at different price levels for the business owner. So we started the pilot, and it was very successful. And we've had many different businesses in this area. Some of them have outgrown it, which is exactly what we want, and then they move on and are able to get their own space. So in doing the pilot program, we determined that there was a need for an even larger co-working space. If you'll go to the next slide. We found some land just a few months back in the summertime that was right in the downtown area, and we feel that that's important to be in the downtown area. That's where new businesses want to be. It's hopefully going to be a nice hip area, for them to bring clients and things like that. And so we found a really good piece of land. We have purchased the land. We've done some lot preparation on the land. We had to reconfigure some of the easements and get power to the site and things like that. We also have the construction documents completed and approved by the city, so thank you very much for that. And when the next process we went through was an open bid process so that we could get general contractors to give us their pricing on it. We received 5 bids, and we are in the process of evaluating those, and the Economic Development Board will be making a decision here later this month on which general contractor to go with. But it was great to see the interest from, and again, most of them were local general contractors who submitted those bids. And it really is important for us to focus on local. As we build this building, we want the majority, if everything that we possibly can, to be done by local general contractors, local subcontractors, and we will focus on really trying to make that happen so that we are using our own people here in our own community to build this building. The building will be about 9,000 square feet, so much larger than our existing space, and it'll provide a lot more opportunities. The estimated construction start date will be hopefully February or March of this year, and then it'll be about a 1-year project to complete the building. And if you go to the next slide, I'll be covering. And again, it's important to do local, to keep it local, not only for building the building, but also providing space for our local entrepreneurs and business owners to be able to start a business or grow their business. And so while the Partnership for Economic Development does a lot of the typical economic development, such as trying to attract businesses to move to Lake Havasu City. It's also important, though, that we invest locally in our entrepreneurs and that we can ensure some steady growth in the community, in the business community by doing so. And it also provides opportunities for local talent to stay here. And that's the worst thing we can have, is for our local talent to say, you know what, there are no opportunities for me here in this community, so I'm going to leave. And we want to provide those opportunities, and we think this is a great way to do that. So with that, you can, if you go to the very last slide, if anybody is interested that's watching this or listening here, you can go to nomadicdowntown.com, and it has all of the information about this new building, so you can do some research. And if anyone is interested in potentially renting space down the road, then there's information on that website for who to contact and how to do that. So with that, I will turn it over to James to continue the presentation.
Mayor and council, good evening. If we could go to the next slide. I just want to do a quick update of 2020. I'm going to cover all 4 of these sections, but I want to talk about just really quickly some recent expansions and locations. I'm going to talk about PMG on the next slide, and obviously we're going to cover speed UTV later, so I will not touch on that right now. But I want to give you a quick update on trademark fulfillment. A lot of people know that as TNT Enterprises or Our Pampered Home. So last March, Tom and Megan Sanders moved into their new 40,000 square foot, $2.5 million facility. And, what was interesting to me about it is I think when we were building this, I didn't think we'd know that the world would shift. And the world shifted in such a way that their business has absolutely blown up. So they have already maximized the 40,000 square feet. They've hired an additional, I believe it's almost 15 more employees than they entered in then. And so we're looking to create a second strategy with them as they continue to expand in our community. So not, in a year of COVID, sometimes we kind of bypass some of the good stories, but that was a really incredible story of a local entrepreneur that literally started that company in his closet. And I know many of you know that story. Let me go to the next slide. Quick update on PMG, Ryan Busnardo. So just a couple of really big things before I get to the Arizona Commerce Authority. Tomorrow is his final inspection to get his occupancy permit. This has been, it's a process, right? And so I spoke with him today. He gave great praise to the city and how accommodating they were. I know that Stuart and Luke and so many people have really, anytime you move from state to state and city to city, regulations are different. And they have done everything they can to help him out. He wanted to make sure that the council knew that. But he's currently hiring. When I was in there today, people were in there waiting for jobs. And so by the year end, by week's end, he will already be at 45 employees. Many of those employees are out in Corona being trained on some of the very similar machinery. Some of them are training at Amada headquarters. Some of that is covered in some of the other things. I want to give a quick update on bringing in some of our partners from Arizona Commerce Authority. It was called Project Big River. And for our community, this is a huge deal. We've never had a qualified facilities be recognized by the state. has to do with advanced manufacturing, has to do with how much capital actually goes into it. And then, of course, there has to be a percentage of how much more the salary is than the median county wage, which it was by quite a deal. In his official letter from the state of Arizona, his average wage is just short of 50,000. These are really good jobs, and another thing that I would point out about this is he is already engaged with MCC on not only training but mentorships out of the education program, but then also corporate engagement with Arizona State University. So just a side note there, but that's a really big deal. So besides the quality facility, he did receive quality job tax credits at 1.3 million. So the total incentives is $3.6 million. And now, of course, that's netting 263 jobs over 5 years. But this is probably the largest concentration of jobs and investment in our community in quite some time, and so we're really excited to get him producing products, and so that is going to happen later this week. So that's very exciting. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. Just want to talk about some of the things that we do in workforce. We have multiple platforms for that. Creative Comrades is entering into, well, it's in its 4th year. It's going on. It'll be 5 years old in 2021. We had 13 meetups. The last one we had was Wild Coffee. And no, it wasn't about coffee. It was all about entrepreneurship and how 2 young people came here and started a coffee company that now has quite a few employees and doing quite well. But really talking about how to break through brand, and then also how to garner market in what is a highly, highly competitive space. It was very well attended. And then our last workshop was Digital Marketing 101, where we had the VP of First Data, which was very well attended. I'm not going to go through all the blogs and newsletters, but there's quite a following because of all the original content that is produced. And so it's really an interactive way for young startups, but young professionals also to exchange, understand who's working in the market, what projects they're working on, and so that's been highly effective. First Friday, not good for COVID. That's been down, but I do want to point out in our last First Friday that we had, which seems like, I don't know, 10 years ago, let's be honest, we had over 1,450 people in Yard City in 3 hours in March. Which is really a shame that this is happening, because we're really starting to gain a lot of traction with restaurants and vendors and artists. And even though we've continued to do some virtual sales, we really can't wait to get this back on track when it's safe and we're ready to go, because that is a platform that really speaks to every resident that lives here. A lot of times we're working with entrepreneurs and startups and people that are really just focused on their next venture, and that isn't a wide sweeping audience, but First Friday is something that a lot of people enjoy, and of course it has a deeper motive, which is to create a pathway or a platform for people to, one, come together for talent, artists, and all that, but also to re-immerse themselves in our downtown. And I don't have to go back into it, but just kind of living through that process to hear what people say, like, I haven't been down here in a long time. There's a bit more to do down here. And it's like, yeah, if you're down here, you know that. If that's not your normal path, maybe maybe you didn't realize that. And then finally, startup school, we did cancel it. We've been doing a ton of stuff virtually. Startup school is not one of those things. Startup school is very immersive things where entrepreneurs start together. And so it has a lot of collaboration. So that'll come back hopefully again this summer. Next slide. Here's another event that did get canceled, but is back as part of our new professional services agreement with the city to attend ICSC Recon in Las Vegas. So we've done a couple of things. We didn't want to just go ourselves as partnership. What we want to do is take clients that would actually be landing these people in the spaces. So we rented the booth. We've made collective branding strategies, but really the most important thing is getting buy-in from a team. So getting the shops at Lake Havasu, Rich Heine from Havasu Mart. You have Desert Land Group with Luke and Coena. But also we have potentially, we have Bart Hollander from Rich Development, who created another strip mall in our town. So we hope to go up there with a larger contingent of people that are in the market space. So we're actually talking to the end user. So that's back on for December 5th through 7th next year. Well, that seems like a long time from now, but that has been rescheduled. And then finally, go to the next slide, I believe. Yeah, I just wanted to cover this really quick. We, along with some of our partners at Go Lake Havasu and the Hospitality Association, just really believe that there should be a universal messaging tool to present to not only our community, but so many of our visitors. And so we wanted a unified front. So we created a small working team to kind of go through all the things that were potentially possible and what they needed. And we ended up getting 40 restaurants involved. And it was very well received, not only from all the stuff that they received, but more from the fact that instead of doing it on their own, that they could kind of be part of something that's a little bit bigger. And it sensed like the whole community kind of understood that, hey, this is our calling card. I mean, we literally entertain people worldwide, but specifically from Southern California and Southern Nevada, that, being collectively on top of it was super important. I've gone really fast because I know you have a big agenda. I think the next one is questions. So if you have any questions of myself or Chairman Patterson.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for all the work you're doing on behalf of economic development like Havasu City. That's a great recap. Do any members of the council have any questions? Yeah, Councilmember Campbell.
Thank you, and great job with creativity. I just love that part of it and that opening together. I understand how difficult it is sometimes to get marketing tools out there, especially when you're just scouring around trying to figure out how you're going to work from one day to the next. My question is on the nomadic.
Yes.
That's right. That's the proper
Yep.
way to say it. Okay, nomadic. Yep. Are you guys moving forward with the bar atmosphere with the liquor license part?
So currently right now, we have not moved forward with our partners at College Street. And I think that for one, the liquor license that we were potentially gonna buy with College Street has already gone off the market. Okay. And for purchasing something like that, you would need a location. We didn't currently have a location for that, so it's gone. But the reason that would happen, or we would come in with a partner, is because when we do Creative Comrades, we currently do it in College Street Brewery. So to have an open event where We're going to allow people to have a couple beers and talk about economic development, entrepreneurism, any way you want to do it in a meetup. If we don't have that, then we can't do anything along those lines.
So the current design does include a bar area at this point, right? Last time
Well, it
I was
has
at your
a-
meeting, I saw it
yeah.
had a
Well, it
bar
has a-
area, social area
Yeah, it has a flex space. It has a completely open flex space.
with a complete bar system though. With storage,
Well, I
like,
wouldn't
do you have,
refer
are you
to
guys
it as a
preferring
bar
already
system.
setting up like, storage for liquor storages and all that? Cause I know on liquor, any of that you'll have to be present
no.
in the,
So liquor would not be a part of that.
okay,
No.
thank you.
So, I mean, just to be in total transparency, that was something we were doing with our partner at College Street, who's been invested in Creative Comrades for the last 4 years, and was interested to, because we will move that over to the new facility. Pre-COVID, we were running out of space. We were potentially buying TVs for people to watch outside and then be inside, but they're also expanding.
Mhm.
So they're going to add 2 more tanks. So our ability to do, and so that's why their management team was like, well, this has been very successful for us to be a part of building young entrepreneurs and startups, that we would want to be a part of that going forward. So in no way is that like it's not a College Street run in there. That's
Well,
for meetups.
I have learned through the process that owning many liquor licenses that class 7s and class 6s have to be open to the public. Is Nomadic, isn't it like a key fob kind of a private event? Like you have to have, anybody can come and go or not?
Yeah, so the way it'll work is, great question, by the way, thank you for that. So one of the reasons that we started the pilot program is before we went and spent a bunch of money on a facility, we needed to know how to run it, right?
Mhm.
What entrepreneurs wanted, what we were giving to them. So we've run this down there for a couple of years. Well, we're running it on keys. You can imagine what keys are to that many young businesses and startups. It's not really a great way to do it because there's a lot of access that you're opening up. So Nomadic is a completely open space. So it'll have standard operating hours. So from 8 to 5:30, the doors will be completely open. After 5:30, they'll automatically lock. If you're not a long-term member that pays, you would not be able to gain entry.
But it will be open to the public
Correct.
throughout the day. Okay, very good.
Correct. And
Good.
then you have to think about all the events that we throw. I mean, we just threw up there how many events that we do. They'll be done in that facility, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you so much for your.
Oh, you bet.
Excellent. Any other questions of Councilmember Lane?
Thank you. Not a question. I just wanted to say, over the last couple of years that I've been following along with you, the change and the growth with yourself and the PED, especially since you brought Amy on board. You guys are doing some phenomenal work, and you brought some wonderful things here to town. First Friday, although you're not able to do it now, I haven't missed a one, and I've seen it grow. I'm down there to watch the people and talk to the people of the community, and it is growing, and it is showing our downtown area just how vital that can be, and how much the people want a place like that downtown. So I just want to say great work. You guys are doing some really good stuff, and as I said, new focus and a lot of growth. So thank you.
Well, thank you for those comments.
Excellent. Any other comments or questions from council? Just checking to see if any of our council members on Zoom. All right. Well, thank you, Chairman Patterson, Mr. Gray, Ms. Spitzer, for being here and all the great work. Even in these uncertain times this year, we have job growth of nearly 275 permanent, well-paying positions, and job creation, and all the other great work that you're doing. So thank you so much for being here and presenting to council this evening. All right, we'll move on to item 7.3, which is the investment report as of September 30th, 2020. Generally, I believe this is just to file, but I believe Ms. Olson's going to give a brief overview of this as we look to the days forward. So Ms. Olson, welcome.
Great, thank you, Mayor. Yes, just as a reminder, this is an investment report provided to the council so that the council and the public can see where the city invests its idle funds. Each fund typically has a certain fund balance, and much of that fund balance has to be retained in that fund, such as for reserves or for performance deposits, reserves required by bonds. As everyone knows, that when we adopt our budget, the revenue that we budget beginning on July 1st, we don't receive it all on July 1st. We receive it throughout the year. So it's very normal to have idle cash that needs to be invested. It's not the same thing as revenues. It's the actual just cash balance within the fund, each of the funds, and often the majority of it is restricted. This report currently shows, with the current economy and as it's been for the last more than 10 years plus, and for the at least probably the near 2 to 3 years, the Fed funds rate has remained so low that our investment opportunities as far as interest earnings aren't very great. However, we still invest our funds so that we can at least draw some kind of interest to add to the balance. That's about it. That's just an overall. You can see the attachments that come behind the council communication that show the portfolio by investment type and by maturity date. And then there's a listing of each of the securities that is currently in the portfolio. With that, I'll answer any questions if there are any.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Olson. Do any members of the council have any questions on the investment report? Yes. Councilmember Campbell?
Hello, thank you so much for all you do. You really do a great job, I can tell. June 30th, 2019, I received an deposited investments, and there was a restricted assets of $16,000. And I'm noticing on today's assets, we don't show that. It shows it every year, all the way from 2011. I think I messaged you about it, and we were kind of confused. But on what it was. And then I noticed recently on this most recent one you gave us, dated June, what is that?
September 30th?
Yeah.
Is the one we're with? Okay.
Right. It shows, that's right, September 30th. I don't see that restricted assets in there. I was just wondering, what is a restricted asset and why isn't it presenting on this budget?
I would have to go back to, I was not able to locate the report. I wasn't sure which report you were referring to when you mentioned that in your email. Therefore, I hadn't responded with an answer on that. I'd have to look back at the June 30, 2019 report. That's, a year and a half ago, just to kind of see what that was. It could have been just performance deposits on hand. It's money that we're holding, but it is not ours to spend, or if it is to spend, it's for a restricted purpose. So that means it's not available for any expenditure the council would want to use it on.
That's pretty much what I was thinking it was also, but when I saw this one didn't have it in there, I just thought maybe I don't understand. But I think we're on the same track for sure on that. And it looks like we're doing really good. Thank you.
Yeah, so just for clarification, what we have in front of us is an investment report. So these are tied to cash flow versus budget. So two different things. So these are where our monies are held right now, whether it's just a deposit account and or investment accounts, as Ms. Olson explained, and not tied at all to the budget necessarily, because obviously what you have in your checkbook versus what's budgeted are two different areas. So hopefully I didn't confuse anyone with that statement.
But if your savings account is going up, that's a good thing.
Yes, it is, except when our budgets identify that we're spending down our savings account. So, but we'll address that later in our council discussion. So, thank you, Ms. Olson. Unless there's any other questions. All right, great. We'll now move on to item 7.4, which is announce vacancies on the Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. Ms. Williams.
Mayor and City Council, there are several vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. The following is a listing of those vacancies. Airport Advisory Board, 1 alternate pilot member, and the Board of Adjustment 4 regular members and 3 alternate members. Anyone interested can pick up a packet at City Hall, and they are also available on the city's website at www.lhcaz.gov. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Moving on to item 7.5 is our city manager's report. Mr. Knutson.
Good evening once again, Mayor and Council. I have some really great news to share this evening through the city manager's report, so let's get started. First slide here is a wrap up of last month's Household Hazardous Waste Day. It was a month ago that we held that. It's our annual event in concert with Republic Services. I would like to report it was a very successful event. We served 240 cars in 4 hours, so that's nearly 1 car per minute. If looking at the last couple of years when we first started hosting these events, after about 10 years where we didn't have any of these events, we had lines that were literally a mile plus long that wrapped around our public works yard over to Campbell Cove and up Industrial. And so we're pleased with this new site location. I'd like to thank Fire Chief Peter Palafis for hosting the event, and we did that at Fire Station 2, and it turned out to be much more efficient compared to the previous location. The line was never more than 10 minutes long. Again, a drastic change from previous years, and everyone stayed safe by remaining in their cars while the different vendors and the different stops came out to collect the paints and the electronics and other stations that were there at the event. So I'd like a special thanks to General Manager of Public Services, Matt Cross, for his efficient efforts with the event, and we're looking forward to next year's. I reported just a few months ago about a sign we had posted up at Sarah Park, and like to announce the installation of a second and final sign at this location. So this is an effort that was led by our fire department, and it was our public works department that helped with the installation. The new sign provides a map of the trails in the Sarah Park based on all the well-known Trail Forks mobile app, the trails located within that app. So now that hikers have an understanding of the length and difficulty levels of the local trails before they start that hike. The new sign accompanies the sign installed a few months back that was warning hikers of extreme desert heat and the need to bring sufficient water. Of course, we have that horrific incident where we had somebody that passed because of a heat stroke. So with this information at the trailheads, we're hoping that people will take that to heart. And again, thank you to Chief Palafis and his team for leading this effort. It was 1 year ago to the date. It was according to effort by the Marine Corps League, Detachment 757. Lake Havasu City acquired a 520-pound relic from the aft deck house superstructure of the battleship USS Arizona, which was sunk in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, during the Japanese attack on December 7th, 1941. Out of respect for the USS Arizona as a national memorial, and in accordance with federal law, Congress authorized the Navy to donate pieces of the Arizona to nonprofit, veteran, and educational organizations so the public may honor and remember the courageous sacrifice of our sailors and Marines during the attack of Pearl Harbor. You can see that it's big and it's heavy, and you see the twisted metal there too that shows the explosion of what happened on that horrific day. We're still working on a location for the relic, and an announcement will be forthcoming here in the upcoming months. I'd like to show this writing was sent with the relic, and it's showing the exact location the piece was from. Again, the aft deck house of the ship. Again, special thank you to the Marine Corps League Detachment 757 for all their hard work and their efforts to bring this impressive piece of history to Lake Havasu City. I'd like to put out a reminder to all of our residents. We've had a number of complaints in the recent weeks and months, and want to send out a reminder to everybody that's living in Lake Havasu City and everybody that's visiting Lake Havasu City to enjoy our off-road vehicle use, but in a safe and enjoyable, low-impact manner. And please abide by all the laws. Stay on open or designated roads and trails, and ride safely and responsibly outside the city limits. It is not lawful to drive on trails within city limits. Users should obey signs, refrain from creating unnecessary dust and noise, and avoid any private property owned, leased, or controlled by federal, state, and the city, again, except for trails that are designated for highway vehicle use. Thank you. The American Red Cross Lake Havasu City is offering a blood drive at the shops at Lake Havasu, Suite 304. This will be on Thursday, January 21st from noon to 6 p.m. and Friday, January 22nd from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. You can visit the website listed here, which is redcrossblood.org, or download their app for more information. The American Red Cross counts on drives like these to provide a steady supply of blood to those in need. So please take the time to donate blood. One donation can save up to 3 lives. And finally, the COVID report as part of my manager's report. Based on information, again, from Mojave County Department of Public Health, as of January 11th, which is yesterday, here's the latest numbers. There have been 1,861 cases since my last report. You can see the breakdown by month to month that's shown in the graphic displayed. Currently, there are 945 individuals that are now in Lake Havasu City in self-quarantine or otherwise be determined as active cases of COVID that are known. Of concern is the capacity expressed by hospitals throughout Arizona and Mojave County. As individuals, we must make the right personal decisions to slow the spread of the virus and support our healthcare professionals and our frontline workers. With that, Mayor and Council, that concludes my report, and I'm available for questions if needed.
Thank you, Mr. Knudsen. Are there any questions from council? All right, thank you. All right, we'll now move on to item 8, our public hearings. We'll start with 8.1, a Series 12 liquor license for Rusty's Modern Diner, 950 Lake Havasu Avenue North. Ms. Williams.
Mayor and City Council, Tim Eugene Grecki has applied for a Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Rusty's Modern Diner located at 950 Lake Havasu Avenue North. All posting requirements have been met, all fees have been paid, and no objections were received. This location is properly zoned for a Series 12 liquor license. Happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is also in attendance tonight to answer any questions from the council.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions of council, of Ms. Williams or the applicant? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the in-person public hearing. We also are receiving public comment via email at cityclerk@lhcaz.gov prior to the meeting, but we have not received any, so we'll close the public hearing at this time and bring it back to council.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Lane?
motion.
Yes.
I move to recommend that the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control approve a Series number 12 restaurant liquor license for Rusty's Modern Diner, 950 Lake Havasu Avenue North.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Lane and a second from Councilmember Moses. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Lynn?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Excellent. Congratulations. I won't mess up next time. All right, item 8.2, Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Saki Sushi and Grill at 460 El Camino Way. Ms. Williams.
Mayor and City Council, Chin Grace Kwan has applied for a Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Saki Sushi and Grill located at 460 El Camino Way. All posting requirements have been met, all fees have been paid, and no objections were received. This location is properly zoned for a Series 12 liquor license. I'm happy to answer any questions on this one, and the applicant is also in attendance tonight.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions of the council of either Ms. Williams or the applicant? All right, seeing none, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Dolan?
just to remind you that I'm here and like to vote, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, please.
All right, I move to recommend that the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control approve a Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Saki Sushi and Grill, 460 El Camino Way.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Dolan and a second from Councilmember Moses. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Lynn?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Great, thank you and congratulations. Moving to item 8.3 is a Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Sam's Place Cafe, 362 London Bridge Road. Ms. Williams.
Mayor and City Council, Kathleen Lee Matthews has applied for a Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Sam's Place Cafe located at 362 London Bridge Road. All posting requirements have been met, all fees have been paid, and no objections were received. This location is properly zoned for a Series 12 liquor license. Happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is also in attendance tonight.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions of Ms. Williams or the applicant? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the City Council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council.
Mayor,
Yes, Vice
Motion?
Mayor Koch? Yes,
it's still hard for you, isn't it?
yes.
I move to recommend that the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control approve a series number 12 restaurant liquor license for Sam's Place Cafe, 362 London Bridge Road.
I'll second that one too.
All right, we have a motion from Vice Mayor Koch and a second from Councilmember Moses. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Lynn?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Great, thank you, and congratulations. Item 8.4 is a Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Hokkaido Asian Cuisine at 1550 Palo Verde Boulevard South. Ms. Williams.
Mayor and City Council, Yin Yao has applied for a Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Hokkaido Asian Cuisine, 1550 Palo Verde Boulevard South. All posting requirements have been made, all fees have been paid, and no objections were received. This location is also properly zoned for a Series 12 liquor license. Happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is also in attendance tonight.
Great, thank you. Do any members of the council have any questions of Ms. Williams or the applicant? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Would anyone like to address the City Council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council. It's because it's hard to pronounce, huh? I already screwed it up first.
I move to recommend that the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control approve a Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Hokkaido Asian Cuisine on 1550 Palo Verde Boulevard South.
We have a motion from Councilmember Moses and a second from Councilmember Lane. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Lane?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carried 7-0.
Excellent, congratulations. And our final liquor license for tonight, item 8.5, is a Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Burrito Shack at 34 Lake Havasu Avenue North, number 3. Ms. Williams.
Mayor and City Council, Melissa Jean Zettel has applied for a Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Burrito Shack, located at 34 Lake Havasu Avenue North, number 3. All posting requirements have been met, all fees have been paid, and no objections were received. This location is also properly zoned for a Series 12 liquor license. Happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is on Zoom tonight to answer any questions from the council.
Excellent, thank you. Are there any questions from council of Ms. Williams or the applicant? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Would anyone like to address the City Council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council.
Mayor,
Yes,
I
Councilmember Campbell?
motion.
Yes.
I move to recommend that the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control approve a Series number 12 restaurant liquor license for Burrito Shack, 34 Lake Havasu Avenue North, number 3.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Campbell and a second from Vice Mayor Koch. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Lynn?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Great, thank you. And again, congratulations. Moving on to item 8.6 is adopt ordinance number 21-1248, amending the zoning classification and district boundary for a 3448 Oro Grande Boulevard, track 2217, block 7, lot 2, from C2 General Commercial District to R3 Limited Multifamily District. Mr. Morris?
Yes, Honorable Mayor and Council members, thank you. I'll start my PowerPoint presentation here for you. Bear with me. Is my screen coming up for you?
Yes, we have it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this subject property is a vacant lot, about a half acre in size. It's at the corner of Oro Grande Boulevard and Buena Vista Avenue in the southeast portion of town. Across Oro Grande Boulevard, there's an existing church and then some residential, multiple family residential uses. To the north is a multiple family property, and then along to the east, there's some additional residential. Across Buena Vista Boulevard, vacant property, and to the southeast of that is an existing fire station, city fire station. The subject property is zone C2 right now. This is one of those nodes in town that has commercial, some of the corners that have been slowly transitioning to residential. You may recall that a number of C1 properties around the town have been especially going back to some sort of residential use. And this is following that lead. Properties adjacent to north, both zone R3, which is what we're requesting for this C2 property to go to this R1 to the ag to the north, northeast, and then across on the boulevard is also an R3. And across Buena Vista is some C1. The applicant did not specify use property. So they'd be allowed to do any uses that are allowed in the R3 residential multiple family zoning district. Of course, project.
Yeah, Mr. Morris, if we may, just for a second, Mr. Knudsen.
Yeah, Luke, I don't know if you can hear us too. I know it's the Wi-Fi at City Hall is in and out, so we're having a very difficult time hearing you, Luke.
Okay, I'll try to move closer and speak louder. Is that better?
It worked right now, so yeah, let's see.
Okay. All right, good, thank you. So I'm not sure how much you could hear there, but hopefully the graphics will help in here. The surrounding properties here are R3, and across Buena Vista Boulevard Avenue is C1. They're requesting to go from the existing C2 to the R3 zoning district. They have not proposed any specific use for the property, but any use allowed in the R3 zoning district, which is multiple family zoning district, would be allowed there. Of course, it would require design review, and any building permit requirements would have to be met prior to development of the property. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this at their December 16th meeting and recommended approval by a vote of 6-0. And that concludes this presentation. I know the applicant is present via Zoom. If you have additional questions for them also. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Morris. I'm not sure if you mentioned something about the applicant is here or not.
Yes, the applicant is present via Zoom.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, thank you for the presentation. Do any members of the council have any questions for Mr. Morris or for the applicant? All right, seeing that there are no questions, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? All right, we'll go ahead and close the in-person call to the public hearing, but we are receiving comments via email at cityclerk@lhcaz.gov, and we have not received any comments for this item, so we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion or a motion.
Mr. Mayor, motion.
Councilmember Lane?
I move to adopt ordinance number 21-1248, amending the zoning classification and district boundary for 3448 Oro Grande Boulevard, tract 2217, block 7, lot 2, from general commercial district to limited multifamily district.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Lane and a second from Councilmember Moses. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Lane?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much, and congratulations to the applicant. Moving on to item 8.7 is adopt ordinance number 21-1249, amending the zoning classification and district boundary for 2190 Acoma Boulevard West, tract 2199, block 3, lot 9, from R3 Limited Family District to C1 Limited Commercial District. Mr. Morris.
Yes, Mr. Honorable Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. I'll share my screen again here with you. Okay, the subject property in this case is at the corner of Tacoma Boulevard West and Industrial Boulevard. It's about a third of an acre, currently vacant. The surrounding uses, there's residential adjacent to it, Industrial Boulevard to the west. To the north, across the wash, is a office cocktail lounge. To the east, northeast is a and a vacant building. And then to the south, across Industrial Boulevard, is a vacant lot. And then Suddenlink is diagonally across the intersection. Zoning for the subject property is R3. They're asking to rezone to C1 for that's which is the similar zoning as across the boulevard. You'll notice that this street intersection, all the other corners are zoned commercial of some sort. There's a commercial C2 planned development to the west, excuse me, to the east across Tacoma Boulevard. That's the one property to the south, and then the C2 property across Wash to the north. So their request is to rezone to C1. Their request for
Luke, Luke. I'm sorry. This is Jess, Mr. Mayor, if I can.
Yeah, please.
Luke, you're doing a fantastic job, but the connection is just not working. Mr. Schmaling, are you on? Are you available to maybe Luke can lead the PowerPoint presentation and you can present the item? Is that okay?
Yeah, I can do that. I can give it a shot.
Thank you.
All right, so let's see if this Wi-Fi works any better. I believe what Luke was suggesting is that at this particular intersection, the other three corner lots are all zoned commercial in one aspect or another. The property's vacant. At the Planning Commission, the applicant mentioned that they were looking at using that property as a coffee shop. However, we'd like to mention to council that any use within the C1 zoning district would be allowed in the event you approve the zoning. That's about all I got. And I don't know if the applicant is available by Zoom or not. We'll probably have to answer that for you.
The applicant is available via Zoom. Hopefully you can hear me. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Morris and Mr. Schmaling. Is there any questions or comments from council of either staff or the applicant?
Okay, I found this on.
Oh, sorry about that. All right. Yeah, Siri wanted to get involved in our conversation. All right. Is there, seeing none from council, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion or motion.
Mayor?
Yeah, Councilmember Moses.
I move to adopt ordinance number 21-1249, amending the zoning classification and district boundary for 2190 Tacoma Boulevard West, tract 2199, block 3, lot 9, from limited multifamily district to a limited commercial district.
Second.
Excellent. We have a motion from Councilmember Moses and a second from Councilmember Campbell. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Lynn?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Great, thank you. And congratulations to this applicant. Moving on to item 8.8, it is adopt ordinance number 21-1250 for a planned development rezone of 321 Lake Havasu Avenue North, tract 2305, block 2, lots 2, 3, and 4, from C1 Limited Commercial District to C1 PD, which is Limited Commercial Planned Development District, to allow light vehicle sales, service, and repair. Mr. Schmeling.
All right. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Luke has the aerial photo for you. It is just off of the corner of Lake Havasu Avenue and Palo Verde. This is the old Hastings facility. If you want to switch the map. The current zoning is C1, and the applicant is asking to rezone this to a planned development. You can see the property to the south is also zone C1. Across the street, it's multifamily, and to the north, it's multifamily as well, all existing developments. Next slide, please. This is a site plan for the proposed use. You'll see that there's not too many changes to the site itself. They're using the building. They're going to provide a fence around the perimeter. The reason for the request is because the C1 allows retail uses, office uses, mostly indoor commercial activity. Once you get into the heavier commercial uses or a lot of the outdoor display and sale uses, that's when you get to a C2 zoning. So what they're asking for is to remain C1 because the majority of what they're doing from an operational standpoint is allowed on the site. It's just that they're also choosing to use some of the parking area for display and sales. And I believe the next slide indicates some of the areas that they're using for display. They plan on using a portion of the property lines, a portion of the parking area for display. And I don't have those exact numbers in front of me because I don't have the staff report. I'm working out of home this evening. But the parking lot has over 100 parking spaces. And we did a calculation, and it more than exceeds the necessary parking for the use of the building, even with some of those spaces taken over by display. And I believe the applicant is present via Zoom. I do not have anything in addition to provide for council. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Schmeling. It says that the proposed use requires at least 50 parking spots, and that site has 103 spots. So, as Stuart mentioned, they're definitely overparked. We do have the applicant, Mr. Grace here, and Mr. Gordon, if you'd like to make a presentation or comments.
Mayor and council, just let you know that alarm, that was me that went off on my phone. That's for trash night, just for inquiry minds. I'll wait just a moment. James Gray with Partnership for Economic Development. I'm here with Speed owner and innovator Robbie Gordon and his son Max. But I just want to go through a couple of quick slides, some of which, unfortunately, Luke does such a great job of setting the stage. Maybe we could get him to walk over here. Stealing a joke there. Okay. I just want to go over a couple things. I just want to hit up retail and transition. This is a unique site, and I think we need to just spend a couple minutes on that. Then talk about the job creation, regional sales. And then I'm just going to go over very quickly a couple of the comments from the applicant meeting for the neighbors and how those would address. But then more importantly, Robbie to come up here and give his vision for Speed UTV. If we go to the next slide, a very familiar slide from when we utilized the PMG. There's just a couple of notes here. This trend keeps going. Bricks and mortar is down 14%. Online sales is up. You can see how many in spaces that are over 10,000 square feet. Lake Havasu still has over 200,000 square feet in retail. That's quite a bit. And then you see the updated Forbes number. I want to add to this just a little bit because in 2019, UTV sales exceeded $4 billion. Over the next 5 years, over 450,000 UTV vehicles will be sold. It's a huge growth market. And like a lot of other things, I believe the pandemic has exacerbated this movement. It's an incredibly family-oriented thing. We happen to be a tremendous playground for it, and obviously it's a really good fit on far as a brand ambassador. If we go to the next slide, unique site restrictions. The old Hastings building has been closed for over 4 years. What a lot of people don't know, it's an incredible place building, but it also has a land lease and a building cost. The land lease is substantial, and so it takes a certain type of retail that can jump over that. And Speed UTV can do that. It's time to market, and so it's very advantageous both to his business model, but from an economic development standpoint, it's really good to not have such a prominent empty building. So a lot of people don't know that about the facility, and people have tried to get out of that lease agreement. So I just think that's always a basic thing to inform people on why that. Let's go to the next slide really quick. This is what I get excited about. Job creation. It's huge. So there's a couple of things to think about. So I was just talking about how prominent the building is. So there's going to be facility upgrades, and that was a big discussion with a lot of the neighbors. Is they had lived around such a nice facility, and in that 4 years, it's gone down. And the owner obviously is turning this into an incredibly high-end sales tool. So it'll no longer be in that state of maintenance. It'll actually be on the rise. And I think the neighbors were incredibly happy about that. The projections right out of the gate are 10 full-time jobs, between 40 and 60,000. That's over, I think it's 27% more than the county average, which is great. And then the sales projection. So there's a couple of what I think are really important to this. So year one, the business model is expected to sell over 10 million, and by year two, over 21 million. This is from part of a community. It's great on two fronts. One, it's a sales tax generator. And so Robbie and his team, they don't just sell locally. This is a regional thing. This will bring people in from Southern California, Southern Nevada, Arizona. And then on another part, he's an incredible brand ambassador, right? I don't need to tell you his story. It's very long. If you don't know his story, you should go check it out, because it's pretty incredible. Let's go to the next one. I think this was fairly well covered, so I won't jump into this again via time. Let's just go to the concerns. Let's just get to the... So one of the big concerns of the neighborhood was deliveries. Hastings had deliveries that came in the night, which is pretty common for retail. Robbie and his team has assured them that they will not be working in the middle of the night. And then the hours of operation are very similar. They're a little less. So they're looking to operate from 9:30 to 7:30 to 8:30. He'll tell you one of the reasons he wants to stay open is he feels that in his other facilities that he gets better traction by allowing the people that work to be able to come in after hours. And that's a huge thing. And I won't jump into too much. I won't steal any of his thunder. A couple of things. Absolutely no manufacturing will be done in this facility. That happens elsewhere. This is not a race shop. It's a completely high-end facility. But a lot of the things that will be sold in there are accessories. If you're not familiar with the UTV market, accessories and customizing them is literally the biggest part. There's not a whole lot of people driving the same ones out there. They're all customizable. So it'll be done behind a plexiglass thing because these are things to be seen and shown off, and so that's a really cool aspect of it. All the UTVs are CARB and EPA, meet all those mandates. And then a couple of just different things. I won't go over the paint and all that. We did have questions about the parking lights and posts. None of those will be changed. They will be repaired. But one of the things to add is that I think put a lot of the neighbors at ease is Robbie is very much an innovator and understands how technology helps. So he's not going to be one that's going to be blasting 24-hour lights for security. He'll be using all technology and cameras. And so that'll remain the same or actually go less because of energy conservation. So let's go to, let's see, the next slide. And that's where we bring up Robbie, the owner and innovator of Speed UTV.
Thank you, James. Good evening, Robbie. Thank you for being here.
Good evening, Cal. How are you?
Good.
And thank you for allowing me to speak today. Really excited to possibly be able to put a flagship dealership in here in Havasu. Some of you may not be aware of, I designed the Polaris RZR. The RZR stands for Robbie's Ride, back in 2004 for Polaris. And since then, we've worked with Textron Articat, and our contract ended last year in September. And we went out and said, okay, we're going to build our own car. And initially we thought we would sell, 500 of them to 1,000 of them a year. Last week we sold car number 10,700, a little under $450 million in sales since March. So I'm a little bit scared, but I do believe this is the right area to be in. And we didn't do all these sales by ourselves. We did land Ride Now dealerships, Nash Power Sports, Coin Power Sports. We landed 70 of the premier power sports dealerships as well. And I've had a long relationship from the guys over, Max, help me, AZ West, back with the original Polaris, and then they took on the Articat brand as well. But I felt if we were going to do this in this area, we needed our own flagship store. So I had my eye on the Hastings building for about 5 years, and I kept waiting for something to happen with it. And finally, we had a product ready to put in at the same time. So excited to be able to hopefully finish that goal.
Excellent.
Any questions?
Yeah, Councilmember Moses.
Thank you. And thank Robbie, thank Mr. Gordon. Appreciate your interest in our community. Can you expand on the UTV display that I saw on one of those slides? What that might look like and what you...
The display would be more of what you see at AZ West outside. I would face towards the highway. So we talked about a fence. I would do a rod fence that would be see-through. So nobody would be blocked by vision or anything like that. And the vehicles, I see them facing Highway 95 because that's where most of the traffic would be driving by. Obviously, I'd like to put in for an expansion as we grow the business. I have a vision for that. I don't know if anybody's seen Delamo Power Sports on the 55 freeway, but it looks like Carvana. One of the glass, all the cars would be in the windows. That's where I'd like to get down the road, but obviously I don't have that capital to do that project today. So we'll start in this fashion. With regards to the building, I don't see a lot of things changing in the building. Everything would be glass walls inside where you'd be able to see all the way through. And we would do all of our heavy maintenance over at Morgan Motorsports next to, what street is that? It's College? On College Avenue. So any painting, any fabrication, any of that stuff would be over there. This would be more like a high-end Ferrari, Mercedes dealership compared to a retail store where, we're banging on stuff and doing it. It's more of a high-end display walkthrough. Also, your area has the best trails in the world. I've used it for our Dakar training for years down in Parker, and I love the area.
And one more, where are the cars manufactured?
Cars are manufactured in Texas. I have parts manufactured all over the world. We've been very busy. There's 41,000 components into a car, individual drawings to be able to build a car, and we assemble it in McKinney, Texas. And eventually, doesn't make a lot of sense. We bring parts into Long Beach. We bring parts into Galveston. We assemble them in McKinney, and we bring them out here. And all of our sales, I shouldn't say all of it, let's go with 95% of our sales, Arizona, Nevada, California, Utah. So this area right here works really, really good for us because this is where the enthusiasts like to come and ride. And COVID has been very good to the off-road community. You know, as bad as it's been to my Stadium Super Truck Series, which is a fan-oriented sport, it's been exceptional for people bringing families together, going outside. I mean, you can go down to Shea Road and look how many people are camping down there out on the weekends. It's really changed a lot of things.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, any other questions or comments of the applicant? All right. Mr. Gordon, thank you so much for being willing to invest in Lake Havasu City. We appreciate it, and we hopefully will be able to make this happen. So,
all right. Well, thank you,
yeah,
and
thank you.
Thanks for your time tonight, guys.
Excellent. All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the City Council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for motion or discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Lane?
I move to adopt ordinance number 21-1250 for a planned development rezone of 321 Lake Havasu Avenue North, tract 2305, block 2, lots 2, 3, and 4 from limited commercial district to limited commercial planned development district to allow light vehicle sales, service, and repair.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Lane and a second from Councilmember Dolan. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we are ready to vote. Councilmember Lane?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Excellent. Thank you. And congratulations. Thank you so much for investing in Lake Havasu City. And thank you, Max, for being the detail guy. Yeah, everyone needs a detail guy, so good work. All right. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is item 8.9. Ratify city manager's execution of a cooperative purchase agreement amendment, one renewal, and purchase of one fire department 2021 Ford commercial chassis F59 walk-in van body as equipped from Santan Auto Partners LLC, DBA Santan Ford, and walk-in box from Morgan Olson. Chief Palafis.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. The item before you is to replace our rehab vehicle that is utilized by our wonderful CERT team of volunteers that assist us at fires, has assisted us at the COVID events, providing rehab, nourishment, and assisting our firefighters replacement of bottles. This is replacing a 30-year-old van style piece of equipment, a vehicle. And this is the first of phase one of phase two. This is purchasing the chassis and the box for the vehicle, and then we'll be coming back to council for the customization of the interior of the vehicle. I appreciate your support for the CERT team and the fire department. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, Chief. Do any members of the council have any questions for the chief? No? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? It's been a while since we've experienced something like this, but we have nobody in the council chambers from the public. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and we have not received any public comment either. Just a real quick shout out and thank you to our CERT team, all of the volunteers that do just a tremendous amount of work for our firefighters, our public safety, and for our community. We really appreciate everything you're doing, and I'm glad that this issue or this item is before us today. At this time, and unless any other council members have any comments, we'll entertain a motion.
I'd just echo your sentiment that the CERT team is vital to our community and all the great events, and then in support of the fire department. We couldn't do without them. So with that being said, I'll motion. I move to ratify city manager's executive of cooperative purchase agreement amendment 1 to purchase one 2021 Ford commercial chassis 59 walk-in van body as equipped from Santan Auto Partners, LLC, DBA Santan Ford, and walk-in box from Morgan Olson in the amount of $65,688.86, and to authorize the city staff to exercise the option to renew the cooperative purchase agreement in accordance with the Arizona State contract for 2 additional 12-month terms through March 31st, 2022.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Moses and a second from Vice Mayor Koch. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. I couldn't remember if I opened the public hearing, which we did, yes. All right, Councilmember Lynn?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Moving on to item 8.10, ratify the statement of work with Camtra Technologies LLC for the implementation and fixes of enterprise performance management workforce planning for Oracle Cloud Suite, and authorize additional funds for issues identified requiring further corrections. Ms. Olson.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, the item before you is a statement of work that we are asking for ratification on to receive technical assistance on our Oracle software with the implementation and some corrections of the budget module that interfaces with the financial system. Technical expertise is needed to assist with this reconfiguration of the budget module so that it operates correctly and interfaces with not only the general ledger, but also the human resources and payroll module, which allows us to do proper forecasting for staffing costs. The amount that we're requesting related to that specific issue is $29,000, which includes $5,000 for support services on that issue. And in addition, we're requesting an additional $16,000 to be used in correcting, if needed, any of the additional items that are discovered during this reconfiguration and testing process. And with that, I will be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Olson. So it seems like we're making some really good progress on this implementation. Would that be your thought on what's happening here?
Yes, with the use of Camtra and their services, and then council may recall we're starting to use Mythics for some of our maintenance and support as well. We are making progress, and we're very encouraged by the work that is being done by Camtra in particular. So it's been a huge relief for us. There's still a lot of work to do, but we're actually seeing light at the end of what we used to consider a very dark tunnel. So staff is very happy with their work and anxious to kind of move forward to make sure that we can implement the budget module for this budget season.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from members of the council?
I have a question. Ms.
Councilmember
Olson.
Campbell?
Hello again. I was wondering, do you have any staff members that can go to training to assist you with some of the support moving forward? I just know when I had the floral business, it was the same software was insane with FTD and Teleflora, and it came down to really having somebody on site to support you all the way through. I was just wondering if you had anybody like that.
We don't have any staff that's available to do that. It's kind of pushed to their limits with managing just the day-to-day issues. With this contract, Camtra can get in there and actually complete the configuration. And at the same time, they provide the training that we need. And they also, Oracle has several videos where we've been able to obtain some online training with certain modules. But the work that we need done now is more programming work that's very specific to Oracle, the Oracle software product.
Outstanding. Thank you much.
Any other questions or comments before we open the public hearing? All right, seeing none, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to council.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Dolan?
Motion?
Yes.
I move to approve the statement of work with Camtra Technologies LLC in the amount not to exceed $54,000.
Councilmember Dolan is, on item 8.10. I believe that Ms. Olson was asking us for an amount not to exceed 29,000.
Oh, I know. I was just practicing for the next
Oh, okay.
motion I was gonna make, so I just wanted you to be prepared. So, but if you want me to give the initial motion, I can do that now.
Okay, yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. Just as I had planned. I move to ratify the statement of work with Camtra Technologies LLC in an amount not to exceed 29,000 and approve an additional authorization up to 16,000 for additional issues identified and corrected to be contained in a statement of work approved by the city manager.
I gotta second that one.
We have a motion from Councilmember Dolan and a second from Councilmember Lane. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Lynn?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Excellent. All right, moving on to item 8.11, approve the statement of work with Camtra Technologies LLC for Oracle Cloud Human Capital Management, Time and Labor, Payroll, and Enterprise Resource Planning Support. Ms. Olson?
Thank you again. This statement of work, council may recall approving earlier in the fiscal year a 6-month statement of work for Camtra to provide that internal technical assistance, very specific in most cases to the HR and payroll modules and its interface with the general ledger as well. We had a lot of success with this first 6 months in working with Camtra and then being able to help us through any issues and getting corrections made in the system. And so we are requesting another 6 months with Camtra for the same amount we paid before. So it would be another $54,000 for the 6-month period to be coming from contingency funds in the general fund. And this will help us get technical expertise that we need for the rest of this fiscal year and just beyond this fiscal year, I believe.
Yeah, thank you, Ms.
And I'll
Olson.
answer questions.
Yeah, does any member of the council have any questions? Yeah, I just have a quick question for Ms. Gary. On the motion, with it coming out of contingency, does that need to be specific in the motion? Or is it fine as presented?
As long as everybody's comfortable, I think it's fine that it doesn't need to be in the motion, as long as there's a consensus and nobody has any concerns about it coming out of contingency. I know we've done it both ways and both having it in the motion and not having it in the motion. There isn't anything that specifically requires there to be a motion of the council to use contingency. So, I mean, if you include it or don't include it, either way, it's fine.
Okay. No, yeah, that's perfect. I just wanted to make sure so that we were in a good spot. All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions from council? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Dolan?
I was aware of that contingency issue, so I just wanted to give our city attorney time to review it prior to me making this motion. So if we're ready, I'll go ahead and make a motion for this one. I move to approve the statement of work with Camtra Technologies LLC in the amount not to exceed $54,000.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Dolan and a second from Councilmember Lynn. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Lynn?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Then item 8.12, I believe, is going to be removed from this agenda and will be brought back at a future agenda. So we will address that at a future council meeting. And moving on then to item 8.13, approve cooperative purchase of rbox Spirit of Freedom ADA low floor bus from Creative Bus Sales utilizing Arizona State Contract ADS PO 16-102778. Mr. Cypress.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council and City Manager. I'm here to answer any questions or kind of give us some background on what we're purchasing here. This is the second order of this type of vehicle. We have one on order from last year, and we're expecting that to be in April. So the first one's going to be to start run our pilot route that's going to go up and down the downtown corridor. This one probably will not arrive back until December. So they're that with what's going on is just pushing everything back a little bit. So we've had to adjust our plans. This is a ADA low floor bus, so we're getting away from no lifts. So we run into a big maintenance safety issue with our hydraulic lifts. And the key to that is just have low floor vehicles, which mean when the door opens, it's even with the sidewalks. So there's just a small ramp that comes out and the wheelchairs get loaded in the front. So our hope is to eventually have 3 of these because we need to meet FTA requirements, we have to have one backup, a complete backup. So if we're running 2 circulators in the downtown area, we'll need that 3rd one, which will come in the probably late next year. But we're hoping that'll speed up the process right now. If we'll get this one ordered, at least get it put in place and then see what happens towards the end of the year. So any questions?
Excellent, thank you. Councilmember Campbell?
I have a question.
Yes.
Is this this is not for direct stop pickups that we're doing right now. Aren't we doing door to door with people right now?
We're doing a mobility service, which is for seniors and people with disabilities.
And you pick them up at their house.
Mm-hmm. But
and will you continue to do that moving forward,
Yes.
or is it just going to be fixed runs?
No, we're going to actually expand. That part is going to go into what we call paratransit.
Mhm.
And so paratransit is going to run concurrent with the fixed routes, which these rbox are going to go out. So if somebody can't get to the bus stops in the downtown corridor, the paratransit vehicles will go out and pick them up at their house and take them to the locations.
Okay.
So it's actually enhancing what we currently do
Mhm.
for paratransit for the seniors, except what we're doing is we're going to combine them together and we'll have more hours of coverage and probably more vehicles out at the same time to pick them up as well.
That's great, because in the past, I've heard that they didn't like those fixed stops. They had to walk to them
Yeah,
and then had to
exactly.
go stand in the heat. And since we have about 300 regular riders, on a regular basis, I think that's correct. Is that
Mhm.
increased, or do you think that's about correct?
That's about correct. 300 that we have on the books, and probably we do 80 to 100 a week that we pick different individuals multiple times throughout the week. But with COVID, our volume's gone down, but it's starting to creep back up. So
And I understand that we're getting a lot of the funding through federal grants. Is this correct?
correct. We have back to the 2010 census when the city was over 50,000. We came into a different grant field, and we're actually able to receive federal grant funds 5307 due to being over 50,000 plus in our population. So we have a 5307 that we get notified of funding about every spring. And we pull from that. That has different match funds to it, but we also received CARES Act last year. So even though we were going through a tough time this last year, we were able to accelerate the start of the fixed route and these pieces for about 15 months out. So we'd be like back to 5 months ago if we didn't have this CARES Act funding. So it actually is a good investment because we're getting all our capital the first couple of years.
Mhm.
So all that expense we're paying with most of CARES, and we're using CARES for operating as well, but our 5307 is getting us the opportunity to buy those capital projects. And that way going forward in year 3, we already have everything we need in the system. Then it's just a matter of recurring rides and sponsorship, so.
Well, that's great.
And
Thank you
then-
so much for your
all right,
time.
thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from council?
So these buses are going to be designed to pull up to a curb, right?
Correct.
Most of Lake Havasu does not have curbs or sidewalks, so these buses are only going to be used within
The downtown corridor.
the downtown.
So they're going to it'll be Swanson, Mesquite, McCulloch, Acoma, and Lake Havasu Avenue.
Okay, and I'm under the impression that you already purchased one of these vehicles.
We purchased one, ordered one. So it's
And
still
it's
on
been some time.
It's been, yeah, it's been.
And as soon as we get that, we can start our pilot program.
We're going to start our pilot.
Should we wait to see how our pilot program goes before we start in on another one?
Well, we have to have that backup for that one, for that's ADA to, real easy. But we actually have adjusted our schedule out due to things being delayed. So we probably extended out another 6 to 10 months. So we have to have that pilot so we can have data to drive the stops. And we've met with multiple departments, in the area, as well as businesses like the hospital and ASU, and I've met with chambers. So we have to make sure that we put that footprint out early. And then, it's just think about this. If you have a circulator that runs every 15, 20 minutes is the headway. So we could pick people up at the hospital or anywhere else up in the corridor, take them to go eat, and every 15, 20 minutes, a bus would be right there to take them back to wherever we pulled them out. So the fixed route's going to have limited hours. It's only going to run probably from 8 to 3 or 7 to 3, Monday through Friday, so we can start building those numbers. So there's a lot more information that we have, but I was hoping maybe in the next month or two, we'll have some type of meeting that we'll cover everything out, and you'll see it on spreadsheets and boards that you'll have.
But 2 buses is the bare minimum that you need to make that plan.
Yeah, and with that, along as we're having another component, that we can share later. Actually, we'll be back to council in the next couple of meetings for the other vehicles that we're going to use.
Okay. Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks, no problem.
Any other questions or comments? And then just a real quick clarification, when we mentioned the CARES funding, this is specific transit CARES funding. So
Correct.
Separate from other conversations we've already been having as council. These are dollars that were intended for transit organizations across the country. And that was our share of that. So
Yeah, and part of getting the CARES Act funding was to revitalize the economy in the smaller towns. So it's ideal for transit because we're actually going to change the way transit actually operates in the city. So it's going to be more for bringing the people into work and more for bringing the shoppers back and forth and restaurant people back and forth. So it's going to really focus on the whole city, more personal than it would for having a big route, with a lot of stops.
One more quick
Yes.
question here. The big ugly question, what happens if we run out of the CARES Act money or the federal grant money? Where is the funds going to come from to continue this program?
The federal grant money is always going to come, the 5307. We're already apportioned that amount every year. So the state gets a large amount. Now, whether we take it or not, that's up to the city. But what we're trying to do with this CARES Act and the 5307, right now we have, with CARES, we're probably out 3.5, 4 years. The way we're spending it now, we're very careful in how we're spending our money, and we're getting ideas and we're changing ideas because we're trying to trend it out, and we're trying to get something that's going to stay intact, and that way in 8 to 9 years it's going to be kind of just self-running. It's going to be able to support itself with the sponsorship we get and the ridership. So one big component that we'll share later is we're doing microtransit, and that's going to be the deal breaker for the city. Is actually going to be our own private pickup, similar to some of the the bigger Lyft or Uber or something like that.
Yeah,
So,
the ride share.
Yeah, and we almost thought about just doing that only and invest all that money in those vehicles, but to get the federal funding, we have to have a fixed route. We have to have paratransit. So there's some little pieces in there that we have to follow.
Well, I'm depending on you to give us a very successful public transport system in Lake Havasu City.
We are. We're going to bring good things for people throughout the community.
Great, thank you much.
Okay.
Can I just follow up on something? Jess, would you concur with that? The code, the 5307 funds, is that what you mentioned too? That they'll always be there is?
Yeah, Mayor, Councilmember Moses, I think that what we're talking about is 2 sources of funds. We're talking about the transit CARES dollars. That was an appropriation, a one-time appropriation that we can spend over the course of time. Patrick identified that those dollars can be spent over the course of several years. And so that's one pocket of funds. And then the 5307 that we're referring to, that's a federal allocation. Nothing's guaranteed, but those are dollars that have been in place for literally decades and fund public transit systems across the country. So any change in that process would be dramatic and impactful throughout the country.
Thank you.
That help?
Yeah, those dollars run the largest transit programs across the country.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any other comments or questions before we open the public hearing? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion or a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, Councilmember Lane?
motion.
Yes.
I move to approve the cooperative purchase of the rbox Spirit of Freedom ADA low floor bus from Creative Bus utilizing the city's cooperative purchase agreement number 500101. Arizona State Contract ADSP 016-102-778 in the amount of $124,320.72.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Lane and a second from Vice Mayor Koch. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Lynn?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, item 8.14, award bid for fiscal year 2020-21 chip seal program to Earth Resources Corporation. Mr. Frosley, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate the introduction and good evening to you and the other council members. Mayor, as you just indicated, this is our annual contract for our chip seal program. This year's low bid came from Earth Resources Corporation out of Prescott Valley. They've done work here before. As a matter of fact, they've done 2 programs for us within the last 6 years or so, and we're very pleased with their work, and we're excited to work with them again should this be approved tonight. One of the things you may notice different from last year's program is it's a much smaller program. This program only covers approximately 4% of the community's roadways. That's a significant downsizing from last year's program, and the reason is on the next item, you're going to notice that the fog seal program has increased significantly. So in aggregate, we're actually doing pavement preservation on a little over 16% of our public streets. So we're doing good there. And the reason the fog seal program increased is because the pavements we're going to fog seal this year were paved as part of the last 2 years of the wastewater expansion program. And if you remember, those last 2 years, those programs were expanded dramatically, more than double in size than previous years, which means there's a lot more roadways now that are in the 8 to 10-year-old range. I'm happy to report that those pavements are holding up very well. They're very structurally sound, so they don't warrant a chip seal, but we don't want them to dry out and crumble on us either, so we're fog sealing those areas. So that was actually in my presentation for the next item, but it's the justification for a smaller chip seal program. Now, having said that, looking at our HERF budget this year and what we currently have under contract and some of the savings we received, I'm very comfortable increasing this contract through a change order as much as 10% if the council would desire that. We do have that money in our current budget due to savings and the projects we may or may not do this year. So we can have Jess and I can have that conversation if you want to increase it, but we're in good shape with that. The other thing I wanted to point out is if we move forward with this, I need to apologize. The motion is incorrect. It does reference an alternative number 1. There was no alternative bid item. So if you want to just skip the and alternate 1, the numbers are correct, so everything else would be fine. So if you had any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions of council, Mr. Frosley? Councilmember Campbell?
I want to say thank you for what you're doing. My husband is absolutely involved in all of this stuff, and he said whoever you guys have hired this year is doing an exceptional job. He hasn't seen anything as good as what he's been looking at. And so being an asphalt contractor here in town, he is very particular about what asphalt should look like. And he says, kudos to you guys. Great job.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you for those comments. I'll pass it on to the crews, and I appreciate him as well.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. We're doing that very quick for those at home because there's no one in the audience. So it's not like we're trying to hurry. We do have a couple, but bring it back to council.
Mr. Mayor? Motion?
Yes. Yeah, before you do that, if I may, just based on Councilmember Campbell's comments, just for clarification in the community, her husband's company is not being proposed to award the bid, just so I don't want so this is a different company, but Councilmember Moses?
Yeah, thank you for that. I move to award the bid for a chip seal program base bid for fiscal year 2020 and 2021 chip seal program to Earth Resources Corporation for $640,791.03.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Moses and a second from Vice Mayor Koch. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Lynn?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. All right, moving on to our final public hearing is 8.15, award bid for fiscal year 2020-21 fog seal program to Cactus Asphalt, a division of Cactus Transport, Inc. Again, Mr. Frosley.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor and members of council. As indicated, this is our annual fog seal program. Low bid this year is Cactus Asphalt, which is a company we're very familiar with, and we're happy with their work, don't have any complaints, so we don't have any issues with that. As I previously indicated, this is an expanded program to about 12.5% of our roadways, of our asphalt. I think I went through the reasons pretty clearly, but I'm happy to provide further clarification if anything's necessary.
Are there any questions of council?
Actually, Nancy's comment did bring up a question, as well as a couple of complaints from citizens, that I've heard over some time, but that if things are not necessarily perfect for the quality of job that they do, or stuff gets on their drive or something, who in the city follows up on quality control of these people, the work that these people are doing, and what does that process look like?
Well, ultimately, it's me as the Public Works Director, and we have staff out on the street, almost similar to a construction inspector on a underground type of project. So we have people out there monitoring traffic control, making sure they're not going too fast, making sure they're not splattering, not being sloppy.
Yeah.
Having said that, it's not perfect. Sometimes they drive away right as the shift change or something like that. But anybody can call the Public Works Department, and we react to that as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions or comments of members of the council? All right, seeing none, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council. Councilmember Campbell?
Mayor,
Yes.
I motion. Am I doing this right? Okay, I motion 8.15 ID 21-2629 award bid for the fiscal year 2020-2021 fog seal program to Cactus Asphalt, a division of Cactus Transport Incorporated.
Yeah, Councilmember Campbell, that is the introduction.
Oh, where did it go?
You can see that.
Sorry about
there.
that. Oh, well,
Yeah,
this one right here?
Yeah, that's what
Okay,
you're
see?
looking to do. Yes.
New girl on, I move to award the FY 2020-21 fog seal program base bid, alternate bid 1 and alternate bid 2 to Cactus Asphalt, a division of Cactus Transport, Inc., in the amount of $464,104.75. That makes a lot more sense to me.
Thank you.
No, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Campbell and a second from Councilmember Moses. Is there any further discussion?
Oh, there it is over there too.
All right, seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Lynn?
Aye.
Thank you. And Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, moving on to item 9 of our agenda is our current events. Are there any council committee reports? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to item 10, our future meetings. On Thursday, January 21st, 2021, starting at 8:30 a.m., we'll have our planning session. On Tuesday, January 26th, 2021 at 6 p.m., we'll have a regular meeting. And then on Tuesday, February 9th, 2021 at 6 p.m., we'll have a regular meeting. Item 11, are there any future discussion items of any members of the council? Seeing none, item 12, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
All right. Second? All right, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. We are adjourned. Be kind. We'll see you all soon and Happy New Year.